When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade, get revenge. Duh, that's what these people did anyway. First story, unhinged landlord gets a taste of his own medicine. Have you ever had an unhinged landlord? I wanna know. Let me start by setting the stage on who this guy was. We had a landlord who lived 2 houses down from us years ago who was a monster. The first day we moved in, we ordered pizza for dinner that night. A few minutes after the delivery guy left, our landlord came in through the back door, set his weapon, if you know what I mean, pew pew, on our counter and said he wanted to check because he saw a guy walk up to the house. Mind you, I had a kid with autism in the same house. So he was so nosy and didn't like us because we didn't do what he said as far as the house. He wanted us to clean the pool a very specific way, certain plants that we had that he didn't like, water things on certain days, tried to put a curfew on us, when to have visitors, all of that. He was older, so we tried to accommodate him as best as we could to be nice. But all it did was just keep getting more and more demands. He would just walk in the house whenever he wanted and hated our dog. To be fair, she hated him more. He would walk his little tiny Yorkie over by our fence and torment our boxer. It was horrible. So we had an issue with our power and the company couldn't come for a few days because of a holiday weekend. So we had a generator going. This was summer in southern Alabama, so we had this generator going 24/7. He called the police a few times in those couple days to complain about the noise. One cop told us that he was nuts because it wasn't loud unless you were right by it, suggested building a box around it so the guy would stop, and so my husband did just that. After a few calls and not one time we were told to do anything other than ignore him, the final time the cops all showed up with their captain of the entire unit. All to listen to the sound of a generator? How exciting. He came and looked at the generator and looked at his deputies and said, "Are you freaking kidding me? You can barely hear it 10 feet away. What is this guy's problem?" He apologized to us and told us that he was going to put a stop to this right now. Then they all went over to the landlord's house. We never had him call the cops on us again, and we moved out a few months later. It was wild. This guy would walk his dog by our house and just stop and stare at our place for hours. He even fell once standing out there. After we moved, he would call and harass us weekly. We aren't the cop calling type of folks, so it got to a point where I was done. We put a few fake ads out on social media sites that were popular there. Things like great condition generator at a steal of a price. We would get 1 million people wanting it, so we gave his address to them. And we would also say that we worked odd hours, so come anytime after 10 p.m. and knock really loud, because I was hard of hearing. We listed his cars for sale and told people to come late and knock really loud. We put a few personal ads out there as well with his phone number. You know, the only concern I have with this is he's obviously a little Looney Tunes and he has a weapon that he's not afraid to, put out there. And these random people go knocking on his door at 10:30 p.m. And what if they piss him off and he, Like now I feel like we're putting these people at risk by giving them fake information.
Hey, that's not good.
We weren't around to see any of this, but the calls started to get even more. I would get drunken rants from him till my voicemail cut him off, calling me every name in the book. He would threaten to hunt me down and me. The voicemails got to be even funnier than the act itself. They were the highlight of my day there for a while. This continued for quite some time. We would update the ads and just put all the info in the listing and then forget about it. Don't know whatever happened to the old jerk, but he was the meanest man I have ever met. I just worry about the safety of others. Hope they're okay. Whoever was knocking on his door really loud at 10:30 at night. And how awkward that confrontation must have been, being like, "Here to see the generator," and the guy's like, "What?" Next story. This girl stole my friend's boyfriend, so we found a way to steal from her. My friend, let's call her Sarah, and her now ex-boyfriend, let's call him Dave, dated for about 7 years before they broke up. They had a really strong relationship, and I always thought that they were that couple that would be together forever. A few months before they broke up, Dave started working a new job, which he really enjoyed. The only problem was that one of his coworkers clearly had a crush on him. She would be texting him constantly, openly flirting with him, and complimenting him on his looks all the time. Keep in mind, she knew that he had a serious girlfriend. While at first he set clear boundaries and made sure Sarah knew what this girl was doing, eventually he gave in. They started hanging out outside of work. They would text a lot more than friends should. It was so obvious this girl liked him, and Sarah told Dave she felt uncomfortable, but reassured her that they were just friends. Eventually, Sarah worked up the courage to text this girl very nicely about how she didn't think what she was doing was appropriate, but I'm sure you can guess that she never answered. I mean, girl, she knew he had a boyfriend and she didn't care. Just because you say it's appropriate, like, she already don't care. She's already doing it, knowing he has a girlfriend.
Right to jail, right away.
A couple months went by and we still don't know if he actually ever cheated, although I'm almost positive he did, but he did end up leaving Sarah for this other girl. Regardless, he emotionally cheated on Sarah, and this girl tried to break up their relationship from the moment she met Dave. This is where the revenge comes in. Sarah and I have a friend that works at Sephora part-time while she's in school, and she told us Dave's new girlfriend shops there a lot. She looked up her account and found that she had a lot of points saved up, hundreds of dollars worth of points. For anyone who doesn't know what Sephora is, it is I would say a pricier makeup and beauty store. And if you have like a card and a membership with them, you can collect points and you can get free gifts on your birthday. And anyways, it does have like a points card. So the next time we went to Sephora, I gave them her phone number, which we had from when Sarah texted her, and we got a bunch of free stuff using up all her points. And before you say anything, we will be getting revenge on Dave next, but we're not sure on what the exact plan is yet. This is just a reminder to people to never break up a relationship. Maybe you will succeed and get the guy, but it's not going to last because your new relationship is simply built off the breaking of another one. I never thought of that, and that is so easily doable. Because when you go up to the counter, they ask, are you a member? What's your email or phone number? And literally all you do is give them your phone number or email. No ID. Maybe they do ask for ID. No, they don't. No, I've gone in there. I don't shop there. But my sister has a membership. They don't ask for ID. Well, they probably should. I am more of a drugstore makeup gal, if you know what I mean. Walmart, Amazon has some good deals. Sephora has great stuff. It's definitely pricier though, and I buy the more affordable options, we'll say. Next story. Neighbor self-owns by calling code enforcement on himself. We bought our house 4 years ago. During the showing, inspections, appraisal, and approval by the city, no one said anything about the neighbor's fence that spanned from the front right corner of his house, if you're looking at them from the street, across his driveway with a gate to the front left corner of my house. Would you look at that? We have some more neighbor fence drama. It's always about a damn fence. This effectively blocked me from accessing a strip of my own property. It was all grass that he mowed. Later that year in November, I noticed a tiny bit of water seeping into the basement on that side of the house. We had just gotten through our third historic once in 100 years rainfall of the year. A quick ocular pat down of that side of the house showed a slight slope towards my house. I planned to hire someone in the spring to slope it away and install a French drain so it didn't flood his driveway like a good neighbor. The next spring, I hired the crew, they went over and they started working. The neighbor, a 60-ish year old who looks 80 according to my wife, came out all hot screaming at these guys, wondering what they were doing on his property. Mind you, I had never had an issue with a siding repair who accessed the same side, or the cable guy or a plumber who all accessed that side many times before. He gave him a hard time for a few minutes. They blew it off and thought he had been drinking all day. They sloped tilled, mulched, and left a nice flower bed for future use. The next year, which was last year, I planted some roses in the bed and I hired a company to do a whole front yard clean out. They got to the side to pull weeds and lay fresh mulch, and the old man came screaming out of his house telling them to get off his property. He even took a half-assed punch and swipe at one of the guys. Bro, you trying to throw down? I don't think that's very smart above 60. You know, I don't think we need to be like street fighting over this. He started calling them all dirty Mexicans. These guys were white, so that made no sense. I came out and he started yelling at me, saying that they were messing up his yard and he wanted me to pay to re-sod. I said no way. He called me a B word over and over again. I told them to just ignore that side. I spoke with my wife and we both agreed, and if he wants to be a we'll just be petty and let them overgrow so then he can look at it. You can't really see it from the street, so I didn't care. Weeds were 4 feet tall by the end of the summer. This spring was wet, so the weeds were knee-high by the start of May. I was outside mowing when he came over the fence, got into my face, and asked, "When are you gonna clean this shite up?" I said, "When I have assurances you won't harass me or my workers, then I will clean it up." This upset him. He started calling me a B word over and over again, even threw in the word lazy for good measure. I just told him to call the city and I ignored him. He turned his attention to the other neighbors and started raising holy hell with them. My house, while older, is well maintained and carefully landscaped. His house has aluminum siding from the 80s. He doesn't edge any of the walks or driveway, and he has old aluminum awnings that are filthy. His back patio has tall weeds between the pavers. I say nothing about it. It's not mine, and honestly, he's keeping values down enough that the tax man didn't raise the rates. So I just don't care. The next day, code enforcement knocks on my door. He called them. The guy said, "I'm not sure why I'm here. I see no weeds. You have a nice home. Can you show me where he thinks these weeds are?" So we went to the side of the house. Code enforcement sees his fence blocking my access. Well, nothing I can do to you, but he has 10 days to remove that fence. He also needs to weed his patio and edge the sidewalk. The next morning, his wife came over and asked if I would split the cost of removing the fence. I said, "Sorry, but us biatches are out of charity money this month." Now there's an old man sweating in the heat, removing the fence, and I can hear him calling his kids to come help because their old man couldn't keep his mouth shut. He could at least tolerate someone in his grass to make it look nice, but no. Tomorrow, now that I have access, I'm removing those roses and putting them somewhere where I can enjoy them. The mulch will be removed. I will lay down some landscaping plastic and I will cover the whole thing in pea gravel. You wanna be a D? Fine. Look at the crappy side of my house. That is kind of ironic that he called them and then instead of that guy getting in trouble, they're like, "Actually, here's what you need to do to your yard." That is a little bit of a sweet karma right there. It's honestly not even, you didn't even give the revenge. It really was karma. Karma just came back around. Next story, delivery driver revenge. I spent some time doing deliveries for the apps you all likely know. It's a great last resort to avoid dying, but it's a pretty soul-crushing gig because you see how very little the companies and most customers think of you, so your spirits can be pretty low some days. On one of those days, I delivered an order to a beautiful 3-story townhome in a row of townhomes that overlooked the street. Each home was separated from the street by a gated yard that locks from the inside. Upon trying the front gate, I found it locked. I called the customer, but the phone number didn't ring through. They hadn't bothered to provide a working phone number. This is a constant source of frustration with the gig. Customers will live in a place where it is difficult or impossible to get to them. They will provide no means of contacting them or refuse to check their phones, and then get mad at the drivers for not being able to get to them. And that was the case this time. After being unable to contact them, I set the order just outside the locked gate, took a photo of the order, messaged them to inform them of the situation, wished them a nice evening, and I left. It was fairly late at night, maybe around 1 a.m., and the area was completely empty of cars and people, so their food wasn't in immediate danger of being stolen by a passerby. I considered the matter settled. Shortly after, I saw that my rating took a hit and my tip was removed by the customer. I had delivered the food as closely to the customer as they had allowed me to get. They had refused to let me get further, and then they penalized me for it. This sort of thing happens often, but as I said, I was already in no mood for it today, so I decided to get some petty revenge. I ordered a bike lock from Amazon, one that isn't expensive, but it is still extremely difficult to cut through, the kind that you can only unlock with a combination. When it arrived, I set the combination to a random 4-digit number, since leaving it at the starting with 0000 would make it too easy to guess. If I retaliated too soon, it might be apparent that it was their snubbed delivery driver, and though these companies rarely penalize their drivers for anything, it wasn't worth the risk of losing the gig at the time. So I waited a couple of weeks, then I decided it was time. Late one weeknight, I returned to the vicinity of the townhome in question. I parked a couple blocks away, threw on a hoodie capable of covering most of my face, and I removed any distinguishing accessories. All was silent and completely dead, but I still walked casually to avoid suspicion in case someone happened to appear. When I got to the row of homes, I made sure the hood was pulled up, lowered my face, and strolled up to the right one. In a fluid motion, I wrapped the bike lock around the metal bars of the gate and I clicked it closed, tightly wrapping their front gate shut. Then I strolled away casually. You locked me out and then punished me for not getting in. I will punish you by locking you in. I have no way of knowing what problems, if any, this has caused in their lives. I like to imagine they walked out the door the next morning in a hurry to get to work, saw them as they were locked in, and had a terrible day from there. See, now my head goes to worst case scenario, and I'm like, what if they had a kid and the kid was in danger and they had to rush out to the hospital or something? Or them. What if they were in danger? Oh, see, my mind just always be thinking worst case scenario. Maybe they were late for work. Maybe they couldn't get the lock off for a few days and it annoyed them every time they forgot and tried to leave that way. Maybe such a seemingly senseless inconvenience that they were powerless to understand or seek retribution for annoying them for weeks. There was surely another exit. Oh. Well, if there's another exit, then okay. And they probably had an acquaintance somewhere with strong bolt cutters, but the possibility that this upset them, confused them, threw a wrench in their day, and maybe even cost them something, it makes me ecstatic. I feel like there's a good debate around revenge. Some people might think that all these stories are petty and they're against it and they don't think any of them were right, while others are like, hell, do it, they deserve it. I want to know where you stand, you know? Chime in. Because I am. I'm giving my thoughts. We have more revenge, but I need some water. So do you. Cheers. Hope you're having a good day. Just a friendly reminder from me and my garbage bag that if you want to submit a story, the form is now open. I will be accepting up to 100 new stories. If you've submitted your story multiple times, there's probably a reason why it cannot be read, some of the content in it. So please don't send one in again, because you're taking up one of the responses, if you know what I mean. But now's the time. It is linked in the video description of every single video, so get your stories in now. Next story. Karen told a 5-year-old she would be prettier without her glasses. Yesterday, I ran across Karen again, so this story came back to my mind and I thought I would share it. In Germany, it's quite usual that a daycare is organized by a parents' association, and mostly it costs the same as state or church-based daycare, but parents have to contribute as members. Oh, that's so interesting. Most parents enjoy that though, because it's quite a nice experience to be able to get to know other parents rather well and knowing that you can trust them with your kids. My older kids attended a private daycare like that. There were only 20 kids and 3 professionals. I was a board member and I got along very well with our board leader, John, and his wife, Rose. Enter Karen. Her real name really is one you could translate Karen into, so I'll just leave it that way. She was the kind of mom that demanded things like, these kids keep getting into fights with my son, so why don't the teachers keep them close to themselves during free play time in the garden so they cannot hit him? Neither were these kids that bad, nor was her son an innocent angel. They all were just a bunch of kids who didn't yet have the skills to solve their conflicts verbally alone. The teachers were skilled and helped the kids learn that, but of course they couldn't just permanently hover over Karen's son to prevent any conflicts from happening. I swear, if Karen had deemed it legal to chain the rowdies, as she said, to the fence, she had demanded it. The daycare boss, Janice, was getting married, so we parents thought about what kind of nice gift we could get her. Rose and I had the idea to dress all the kids up as bride and grooms and give Janice a photo book with pictures of them as couples. That's so cute. Instead of like a class photo, they're all in like little, that would be so cute. Oh my gosh. If I had kids, I would do that just for fun. Lila needs to wear a little like wedding bridal gown. Oh, she'd be so cute. So we collected nice suits, white dresses, curtains, flowers, some big picture frames to hold up, and set up a date to take these pictures when Janice had to spend the day away from the facility to attend some daycare leader event. Rose, who was a hobby photographer, brought her camera and we started to get all the kids dressed up. Enter Karen. She was also a hobby photographer and felt kind of left out, I think. So she also brought her camera. Unnecessary, but okay. One more person to coordinate the kids. But my daughter had a friend, Lily, that wore glasses. Lily was the only kid with glasses there. While dressing up, Karen said, "Oh, Lily, let's take down your glasses. You look so much prettier without them." Complete 90s mean girl vibes disguised as well-meaning. Rose and I exchanged looks and spoke up, told Karen that the glasses belonged to Lily as much as her long dark hair, and assured Lily that these glasses were very nice and she looked very pretty with them. But the damage was done. Karen had installed self-doubts in Lily, and Lily flat out refused to put her glasses back on for the photos. No. With a few words, Rose and I came up with a plan to annoy Karen to the max. Because of the small size of our daycare, we knew the other parents well enough to know their personal opinions. So when we had a lot of bride-groom combinations with most of the other kids, we took some bride-bride and groom-groom pics with the kids, including her son and his best buddy. They just had fun playing wedding with their besties, but it was a joy to us to see Karen's face crumble and try to hold her smile. She didn't photograph these couples with her camera, but that didn't matter because the photo book solely consisted of the data from Rose's camera. Small revenge, yes, but when we told Janice after her honeymoon why we included these same gender pics and how we came to that setup, she laughed a lot. Janice was also very fed up with Karen's antics. You know, I feel like kids with glasses already have such a hard time. A lot of them can feel insecure on their own, and then you have kids calling them four eyes and things like that. That's what they did when I was in grade school anyways. And then to have an adult tell you you're prettier without them, you're gonna walk around the rest of your life thinking, oh, if an adult told me I'm prettier without them, then all these kids must be right. I must be prettier without them. You have to choose your words so wisely. God, that stuff sticks. Next story, double revenge. Good luck getting in. During the 90s, my three brothers and I attended the same small local school. There were 4 classrooms, 1 schoolyard big enough for a handball and a basketball court, and that was it. The community hall facilities were originally used as a lunchroom, but when the town vocational HS closed, its lunchroom was given to the school. Our mom worked at this high school. When it closed, she transferred to another one from the area, but we kept the same company housing. Both high schools and the housing were administered by the state. I guess it saved everyone some trouble. Our home was on high school grounds in a remote building. Outside of teacher hours, we had the whole place to ourselves, and great fun was had. That would be so fun. Oh my gosh, the times you guys must have had. I'm so I wish we could go back in time and you could invite me. The lunchroom was managed by 3 people, the cook, who we rarely saw, and 2 older, to us at least, ladies. They were truly despicable, hitting kids with a wooden spoon or breaking it by banging it on a table, yelling for silence, making a kid stand on his knees as an example to get the others quiet, and those were all regular occurrences. They once pretended to be 4 plates short of mashed potatoes, leaving 4 of the younger kids with a half plate because they had not been warned soon enough that we would be coming. We sometimes ate at home depending on our parents' schedule. Who gets 4 plates short while managing a lunchroom for 80 kids? They did not like us much, and that was thanks to our first unintentional revenge. One of my brothers informed us in the evening that he, naturally, decided that the best course of action would be to skip the lunchroom the next day. Him and a friend pulled their allowances, went their way to the town center to buy a baguette at the bakery, some sliced ham at the deli, and have their own little picnic. As soon as their absence was noticed, the lunch ladies asked us where they were. The teachers were called. They asked again. None of us knew anything. Even my younger brother, who was 6 years old at the time, kept the secret. The fallout was that the actions of these women came to light as they were clearly explained by my brother and his friend when asked about their actions. It made so much noise that it became the scandalous news in the whole town, not only amongst parents. The mayor himself had to answer about it, since the hags were municipal employees. But it was not our proudest revenge. As kids, we were kept out of the politics, so we did not learn much about the consequences for these women. Our proudest was thanks to some luck, but it was very intentional. It was our last few weeks there before moving out. It was also the first day of summer break, and the front of the lunchroom was a great place for bike acrobatics, so we played there a lot. That's how we noticed that the keys had been left on the door. We had seen the ladies doing an end of the year cleaning and tidying the day before, and it looked like they forgot the keys on the door while getting out. It was not just some keys, but a big ring with a lot of color-coded and labeled keys. So, as young, responsible citizens, we checked that all windows were shut and both doors were locked. Then, to be sure not to lose them again, we put them in a discarded tin can, then secured them with tightly packed soil and dirt. I'm quite certain that no one else ever lost them again, and that can is still in the ditch we buried it in, right next to the lunchroom. I guess we could have gotten in trouble given the price of some of the keys, but even my parents only learned about that years later. I think the real kicker is that the keys are right next to the lunchroom. Like they're buried there the whole time, right there. And to replace all those keys, what a nightmare. I've had to replace a lot of my keys. Ugh. Guys, recently I lost my mail keys, okay? I don't know if I've told you guys this story. Lost my mail keys recently to your condo's little lockbox that you need. And it's like a big deposit if you have to go and get them changed. Like you're responsible for that as the tenant. So it was cheaper, believe it or not, to pay to just switch out the lock completely. So I did all that. I switched out the lock, paid, got a new set of keys. 2 weeks later, I'm in my hometown. I reach in like a coat pocket, my mail keys. My old mail keys to the old lock that I changed. I have no idea how they got there. Oops. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. I'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. Bye.